The Trump administration released an update on the reunification process for children separated from their parents at the border. And guess what? 66 immigrant children remain in U.S. custody after being separated from their parents over the summer.
The report also gave updates on the status of their parents, including whether they are still in the country. The Trump administration had a July 10th deadline to reunite all children separated from their families at the border.
Joining us now is CBS News White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Weijia, the Trump administration said that they would reunite the children by July. Clearly that hasn't happened. Why have these children not been reunited with their families yet? And when can we expect them to be reunited?
Well, those are the questions that we've been asking all morning to the Department of Homeland Security as well as the White House here, and so far have not received any answer. But we do anticipate that they are going to say this is a case-by-case basis and each one is different. So what we really have to look at is why this happened in the first place. And you'll remember over the summer there was so much chaos when the zero tolerance policy went into effect because several of these agencies had to work together to implement it, and there really was a lack of communication to do that. And so families were being torn apart. They were being taken into what's called the unaccompanied minor program, which is a pre-existing program even before this policy went into place. And then those children had to funnel through the channels that already were in place for that. And so I believe that's where we are right now with these 66 children who have not been reunited with their families. And you pointed out, Vlad, that this report also addresses where their parents are. And we know that dozens of them have already been deported. So they are now in 2 different countries. And, you know, the government will say it's not as easy as just sending the child back over because they have to go through the proper steps to make sure that's done in a safe way. But yes, the bottom line is 66 children are still without their parents 3 months after the administration said they would reunite all of these families.
Yeah, you know, when I did file a report after speaking to some lawyers who were representing families of separated families, they also told us the astounding news that in many instances these parents have been deported while the children remain here in custody in the United States. Weijia, I want to play for you and our audience President Trump speaking about immigration on 60 Minutes on Sunday. He had this to say about his decisions.
When you allow the parents to stay together, okay, when you allow that, then what happens is people are going to pour into our country.
So are you going to go back to that?
Well, we're looking at a lot of things. Really what we want to do is change the immigration laws because they're a laughing stock all over the world.
Are you willing, though? I think you're saying it's under consideration.
No, I want all the laws changed. There have to be consequences, Leslie, for coming into our country illegally. And part of the reason I have to blame myself. The economy is so strong that everybody wants to come into the United States.
Can I just ask this simple question, yes or no?
Go ahead.
Are you willing to reinstitute that policy? You said we're looking at everything. Yes
I will only,
or no?
You can't say yes or no. What I can say is this. There are consequences from coming into a country, namely our country, illegally.
All right, the president all over the map there in, trying to sort of wiggle out of that question that Leslie Stahl was asking him, essentially saying that there are consequences for entering this country illegally. Everybody knows that. That is, there's consequences for entering any country illegally. The question, of course, is will he reinstate that zero tolerance policy? And the president's saying, I can't say yes or no. So what does that mean for the future of this immigration debate?
Well, I do think it is a possibility. In fact, just 24 hours before that 60 Minutes interview aired, the president was here outside the White House talking to reporters, and he said this, Vlad, he said, I will say if they feel there will be separation, they don't come. Meaning the people who are trying to come into the U.S. And that is something that we heard months and months ago when this policy and this controversy first unfolded, because that was the argument that, hey, if they believe the families will be separated, it will deter them. So it was being used as a deterrence, even though later the president and attorney general, they had different answers for this. But it seems like the president is reverting to his argument for implementing this zero zero tolerance policy in the first place, even though it created so much chaos, even though he himself said he wanted to reverse it because it was very difficult for him to see the images of these children being ripped away from their parents. Well, guess what? We are no longer seeing those images. And so perhaps out of sight, out of mind, here he is again saying it could be something that we might consider because it's effective. And so his bottom line is that, again, he seems to be blaming the Democrats, saying what we really need is a comprehensive immigration reform package. And that is something that he says the Democrats refuse to work on.
Yeah, we're playing some of those images right now, Weijia, and you reminded me we haven't seen them in a while, and we're living in a time where it seems like every other day there's another hot button issue that rises to the top of the list and everything else gets pushed down. But we are just a couple of weeks away from midterm elections. Is immigration and this particular way of attacking immigration, is that likely to be a midterm election issue, or do you think people have already forgotten?
I think the Democrats will remind voters if they haven't, seen those images or remembered this story. I think they will talk about this again. But immigration is not new when it comes to one of the polarizing issues during an election time. And the president is not walking away from this either. In fact, at rally after rally, he's the one that also keeps the general topic of immigration top of mind. He continues to talk about building his wall and how Democrats are welcoming crime into the country because they aren't working on this comprehensive immigration reform. So on a broader sense, yes, it will certainly remain a topic. But I do think Democrats here have another opportunity because there is this extra layer to bring up yet again the administration and the president's stance on separating these families, because even as of now, even as of Sunday night during that interview with Leslie Stahl, we do not have a yes or no answer from the president as to whether he will re-implement it. And so I do think Democrats will capitalize on that because, as you remember, it was such a controversy.
Indeed. Weijia Jiang, as always, we thank you.
Thank you.